For the last couple days, I have been thinking about and listening to responses to J.D. Vance's assertion that people who don't have kids, maybe their vote shouldn't count as much and they don't have as much investment in the future. It really makes me sad. I mean, it's not only moronic on its face, but it actually exposes a mentality that's really dangerous. Let me tell you where I'm coming from. I don't have children. And to be honest, it doesn't matter why. It doesn't matter if we chose not to. It doesn't matter if we've tried and couldn't. It doesn't matter if we've had surgical or medical assistance in that. It doesn't matter. Because as a long-time youth pastor, I would run into this mentality just once in a while where somebody would think that because I didn't have my own children, that my opinion about youth or adolescents or young people was not valid. But because they did have children. Now, whether their child rearing was going well, whether their children were turning out in ways that they were proud of, or whatever, it doesn't matter. It's the assertion, it's the assumption that if you don't have children, then your opinion is less than. And, I would often, pastorally, which you have to be a little more diplomatic, I would come back and say, because I don't have children, there are things that you can teach me, help me understand. But as somebody without children, but who works with young people, especially when you do it generation after generation. So like in a junior high ministry, your turnovers every 2 or 3 years. In a high school youth group, your turnovers every 3 or 4 years. When you see a number over, let's say 10 or 12 years, you're in cycle 3 of seeing the same pattern manifest. And so there are things that as a youth worker, that my wife and I might be able to help you as parents understand. And this is where the web, right, the relational web understanding is, in my opinion, essential to Christian spirituality, congregational life, beloved community. Because that mentality that J.D. Vance, who by the way is looking increasingly like Pastor Mark Driscoll, the more his opinions sound like Pastor Mark, the more he physically appears to be Pastor Mark Driscoll and sound shockingly similar on these views, misses Christian community, the very understanding of kingdom, that we are all interrelated, that as children of God, there are going to be some of us, you can find this in Scripture, who are going to be single. Some of us are going to be coupled. Some of us are going to have children. Some of us are going to adopt kids who need a home. Some of us, right, are going to serve in this capacity, and some of us are going to serve in that capacity. Some are the feet, some are the hands, some are the head, some are the eyes, right? And how dare one member of the body say, oh, I'm better because I'm the hands and I do this, than the feet. But, without the feet, you're not going anywhere. This is in Scripture. The mentality that was exhibited in that comment, it's not just moronic on its surface, which obviously everyone's reacting to and making far better points than I could. But as a Christian minister, I have a unique take, I think, on this that I haven't seen yet, which is that it is absent an entire abandonment of the very concept that Jesus and Jesus' followers, which resulted in our New Testament, of connection, of relationship, of bear one another's burdens, submit one to another, serve where you are strong, let others minister to you where you are weak. This status, this identity politic, and I don't mean identity politics, I mean the opposite of that, where you disregard somebody. Boy, it's sad and shocking. And it would be like, if I was trying to think of an equivalent today, it would be like me taking the opposite view and saying, actually, you know who's suspect? People like you with kids who take them to McDonald's, let them watch TV, buy irresponsibly because it's cheap, right? Affordable. But that's that us versus them death culture that we get seduced into. So when somebody others us and says you're less than, to come back and go, have you met parents? Have you met some of these people who have kids? And they're shallow, self-focused, and then they think that they are the bee's knees because they have kids and they know. Like, that's what it seduces you into. Instead of the good news of the gospel that we all belong, right? That there are things insights you have from your standpoint, right? There's ways of knowing that parents know things I don't know. And vice versa, there are things I might be able to contribute to the conversation that parents are just too busy or too tired or too distracted or too worried. Maybe even rightly so, justifiably. That I can, in the web of relationship, minister to them and say, hey friend, I know this seems scary right now, but let me tell you a story. When I was in 5th grade and we lived in suburban Chicago and it was during the Cold War and this thing happened, here's how my parents handled it, because I was really afraid. And my parents handled it, and that gave me a sense of that everything was going to be okay, and right, they modeled faith for me. And so I just would encourage you, like, think through how are you going to model faith and strength for your kids and not live in fear, but faith, right? Like, we can have these conversations because we're different, not because we've passed a litmus test or checked off some box and we qualify for our opinion and perspective to count. I mean, this thing, he said, it's not just dumb, it's dangerous. Because it says that the individual is validated by instead of the very things that Scripture, for those of us who are followers of Jesus and people of faith, I know those are two different things. That's why I said it that way. That we bring to each other's lives. Listen, this world, the world you live in, even maybe the congregation you're a part of, the church you go to, does not work without people who don't have children. And whether that's people whose children are graduated, right? They're empty nesters, or people who never had kids, or people who are single, or whatever. Or blended families. Your ministry, your neighborhood, right? Your favorite franchise does not work without people who don't have kids. Because like taking youth trips, right? Whether you're going on a service trip or a mission trip, the reason some people can take that much time off is because of their social location. The reason that youth workers sometimes are available 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 at night is for the same reason. And it's so hurtful and harmful to take this myopic, provincial, shallow, if you're not like me, your opinion shouldn't count as much. So I just want to say in closing, bless you. Whatever season of life you find yourself, whatever your family chart looks like, whoever you are, with kids and without kids, thank you for serving your community, for having tough conversations with your friends and families and neighbors and coworkers. Thank you for giving the best of who you are to make us stronger and letting us care for you in the areas where you're not your strongest. Thank you. Because this relational web is weaker without the diversity and the multiplicity of callings and giftings and personalities and experience and social locations. We're all better for being different together. So bless you and thank you for being a part of my web that holds me up and helps me to be who I am.